Thank you very much. My name is Bernard Ozarowski. My outlet's the Invention of Dreams. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me a little about your film today.
Well, I'm very grateful you're having me.
So I understand you have kind of an atypical background for a filmmaker, a history as an equestrian athlete. And I just wanted to, let my readers and viewers learn a little about you and how you came to filmmaking.
Wow. Well, it just was like, you have a lot of hardship and heartache as a kid, and a lot of things happen to you. I had some things happen to me that were tough, and, you just escape into films, right? And they give you hope. They give you this, they give you that, and they encourage you. They to reach for the stars, to try what you can never do, to want real love. What does real love do? And so that's how I got into it. And so I was riding horses, and to be honest, I was getting kind of depressed about all the drugs gave horses.
Yeah.
Including me. And I just kept thinking, wow, like we're shooting them up with equipoise, that's steroids, shooting them up with this, we're shooting them up. And I just thought it was my time to leave. And so I thought, I have like all these crazy stories in my mind. And so I started writing in between the horses. Like I would go jump, do all the jumps. And then I would go, oh, I have an hour off. And I set up on my tack trunk, on one of the tack trunks, and I'd start writing. And that's how it started.
That's fantastic. So how did the idea for 9 Bullets come about? Does that date back to your equestrian days? Is it something that you came to more?
My first script, seriously, that I wrote during the equestrian days, Drew Barrymore and Harvey Weinstein bought, Miramax was happening. Mm-hmm. It was my life story. It was the story of a girl who's a tomboy who doesn't know what most girls know. Who's like, I'm 5'9", so I was always called sir when I had my cowboy hat on. Hey, sir, you forgot your change. And I go, thanks. Right. And I go like that. And because I didn't want anyone to know I was a woman, because then they'd go, oh my God, you're a girl. Then everyone would stare at you like you're a freak. Okay. So and she ends up stumbling into a drag bar and sees men that are more feminine than she's dreamed of being, and gets the older drag queen to teach her how to become a woman. So it was My Fair Lady, La Cage aux Folles, Professor Higgins, and drag. That was my very first script. This script came to me 2017.
What inspired you to build up this story, to tell the story of the Gypsy Moon character?
I think because I had gone through a divorce and I needed to believe in second chances. And you don't know where they're coming from, like in the movie. She doesn't know where. Did you get to see the movie?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So, you don't know, you think it's your book deal, and it's really the love of this little kid that's her second chance. So, and purposefully, we didn't cast her 30, because the older you get, the less people think you're going to get second chances. But age is just a number.
That's one of the things I found most interesting about the film, actually. There aren't a lot of roles like this, especially in the action or quasi-action genre, for leading women in their 40s. And I was curious about your thought process in building out a role, if this had always been the intended age bracket for the leading actress, and how you came to Lena and her performance here.
Well, I owe that all to Mary Vernew, who's one of the best casting directors in the business. And, Mary and I talked about it, and she was like, I was like, I really think it needs to be a woman that, is at the edge of maybe she shouldn't be stripping, which is not Lena. Because Lena looks like fucking 35. Her body is like fucking amazing. Yeah. Even though Lena will say to you, no. And, she actually told me that it was the hardest thing in the world for her, the strip.
Huh.
And she worked with a very famous burlesque dancer, but no, I wanted it to be closer towards 50, because it's like your time is limited. So that raises the stakes.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of vulnerability in her performance. And I think it makes sense that would be such a stressful moment to go through the dance as an individual. But I think a lot of the texture of her work comes through this. So what I'm looking for here, it comes through in the way that she's, grappling with the trauma from her past. And I was curious about your process of building out this role with her. I think she's really, really excellent in the film.
I mean, she's amazing in the film, and she took my character here and brought it way up there. Like, and I mean, it's just who she is. She's so diverse and has so much in her, and I didn't even know that she had that much in her because I wasn't that familiar with her work. But Mary Verneau kept saying, "You've got to just watch this thing and watch this movie and watch that movie." And there was one moment, and I told Lena this, and she I think sometimes Lena looked at me like I was like out there, but she totally got me. Like we just bonded like that, when I met her. And okay, there's that moment in Game of Thrones before she walks naked, through the thousands of people, which we know is not, is CGI'd or whatever, but in the prison, and she's in prison against the corner, and she just squats up and touches the wall. And it was all in how she touched that wall. Everything was said in that moment. And I thought, this woman is it. She has all the facets, the nuances, the moments that she will bring out. And she did. I mean, we were really collaborators. And, I'm much more of a sentimentalist American, and she's much more of a Brit, and so we would work through those things. And here's a funny story. I hope you think it's funny.
Please.
I'm always the last to know, but, and life is so full of humor, but okay. So the first costume situation I could tell wasn't working. And I had shown up at that moment because I thought, I don't think it's going to work, because the first person that was on it didn't understand what I wanted. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm there, and I thought, Lena will know. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to show up and be a fly on the wall. So I'm watching Lena, and I'm looking at her face go through the racks. And I can tell she's not that happy because I actually written the role. Remember that movie with, you're probably too young, with Melanie Griffin? And she was like running through the streets of New York in a tight skirt and high heels. I can't remember the movie, but it was such a great visual as me as a kid in high school seeing this. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to recreate that. And so I go outside to make a call to one of the producers and say, I don't know if this is really going to be a good situation, but let's see. And out comes Lena. And she had changed the role to a leather jacket and jeans, not on stage. And she's like, this is what I'm going to wear. And I'm like, okay, because totally different than what I thought. Right. And so I thought, okay, well, she knows what she's doing. I mean, hey, it's like most actors, they come to the set looking like me, and then they're like glamorized and come out and look like movie stars they are. Right. So I thought she knows exactly what she's doing. It's probably better. The heels may break, whatever. She may hurt her ankle, whatever. So we're working, and like 3 weeks into it, or no less than that, because we only had 19 days to do 210 setups, which was, I know.
That's an ordeal.
And so someone kept calling me Lena, and then I would hear them call her Gigi. And then I'd realize, I looked down at me, and what do I wear? Leather jacket and jeans. That's my outfit. And I looked at her, and I went up to her and I went, were you like, and she said, I was wondering how long you would take to figure out that I was dressing like you. Part of you. You know what I mean? Like a part of me, not like me, but she took an element of me and used it. And I was like, fuck. Like it was over my head. Totally over my head. She goes, glad you're directing me and really aware. And I'm like, thank you, Lena. We just joked with each other all the time. You know what I mean? Like it just was such a great vibe. Like everything was going wrong in the world. We were terrified of the pandemic. It was the beginning of it. We had no idea. It was when no one knew what the fuck was going on. And for me, it saved my life, and it was just humor and working together and getting through these insane days and discovering all of these wonderful moments. Like, remember the scene after she's made love with Jack, with Sam Worthington, who I love so much working with. I mean, every actor in this gave me everything. Like I really am like this to them. But so remember when she comes in and tears off her clothes in the shower?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was thought of in the moment and we were behind. And I went up to her and I go, a lot of people don't get why you fucked him. Oh, am I allowed to say that on your... Why
Be my guest. Yes, wait. Yeah, absolutely.
Why you fucked him? They all know that to save a kid, but you enjoyed it. And you hate yourself for enjoying it. I said, so do you mind? And she goes, I'm in. And we shot that in one take, to get rid of him, to hating herself. And that. So, because there's so, I don't know if it happens with men, but there's some, with women, you sometimes end up sleeping with the guy that you don't want to sleep with or the girl that you don't want to sleep with because you can't help yourself. It's just that great.
Yep. No, I think it's a natural human experience. It cuts both ways.
And she was so all those little moments that came in, that in the moment, and to have someone like Lena that takes an idea and brings it up here. I wish I could take the credit. I can't,
Yeah.
I just gave her the rein, the rein. I threw the reins away. On a horse, you throw the reins away and trust them.
It's funny. You're kind of talking around one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, which is how your approach differs, because this is really your baby. You directed, you wrote, you produced. And I was curious what your process is like, kind of how you differentiate or, combine your writer brain and your director brain. Because I have to imagine the writer brain has these, infinite ideas, and the producer brain is thinking through, how the hell do I get this thing shot? And I'm curious how you sort of balance the different hats that you have to wear on a film like this.
Well, I rarely stay in my producer brain because that's my fearful brain. Okay. So I just throw that one out. And was I lucky that I was lucky to bring in investors? Yes. Did I bring them in? No. Do you know that a friend of mine invested who just believed in the movie? Like, I didn't even ask her. And she's just so fucking killer. Jane Holzer. She was like a big Andy Warhol star, but my buddy riding horses. And she invested in a movie called Kiss of the Spider Woman. And she calls me and she goes, I read your script. I want to invest in it. I just have a feeling about it. I was like shocked. And Jane is fucking brilliant. Right. And so, so that's my only producer thing. And of course, other things were too, but I'm just saying, I can't stay in that worry. I have to go, you write it. And it's every time, like, I have to say, like, I did a couple movies for Lifetime to learn and to get on a fast schedule, so I could boom, 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 right. And learn how to move and da-da-da-da. And I didn't write those. And you have to, as a director, you're in the moment. I actually think it's more exciting than writing. You're in the moment with the actor. And it's all about their moment. And you're watching it. And can you do something better? Can you do this? Can you bring this out? Can you move the camera this way? I like going in closer and closer and closer, which sometimes drove my DP crazy. I just love that. I want to get in there. I want to see it. I want to feel it. I want to be there for that moment. Like when the little kid touches her tears that are falling. Yeah. And the first time he went like that. Right. And then I said, no. Her face is glass. It's going to break. And he himself tore off this little tissue. You saw it, right? The little napkin. It goes like this. It's all in that moment. And I didn't write that. Okay. It came out of all of us in the moment of creativity. Right. And I love that directing part. And, writing, you write this structure, but you don't know what's going to happen within the moment, which now that I'm talking to you, it's kind of like riding horses. Okay. When you're on the horses, you have like 28 jumps, right? And you have to go 1 through 28 and do them in order, just like a script. Okay. But between, let's say, jump number 6 and 7, your horse stumbles. Well, then you got to haul them up, rebalance them, readjust for the next jump. Okay. Yeah. So it's the same thing, like directing. You're just in the moment because they can scream, cut, the sound's gone, or a helicopter can come in, or some great thing can happen, in the moment where someone does something so unbelievable. And you just let the cameras keep rolling, which Lena did all the time, and Lala Anthony, and even Barbara Hershey and Sam and Martin Sessmeyer did so many incredible things, like you just have to know when to yell cut, and you have to know when to let it keep going and be in the moment with them, or maybe make a little suggestion, like with Dean, because he was green, now he got 5 Transformers. I don't know if you know that. Wow. He's coming out in the next Transformer, and he gets signed on to 4 more. How cool is that?
I have a 4-year-old son, so something tells me I'm going to see a lot of him in my life.
Oh my God, you totally are. And your kid would love him. He's the most generous little kid. Mm-hmm. He's what America is all about. Immigrant, works hard, family works hard. Bah, look what happens. It's just, and he's like, I'm going to give home. I'm going to send money to my relatives in Puerto Rico. An 11-year-old saying that.
Really sweet.
I mean, my God, I'm in love with this child, but it's like sometimes at first he was a little nervous. So I would walk by Lena and I'd go, I'm shooting rehearsals. Okay. So I did that, and so Lena and I were really on track. Or she would say to me, I would try to explain to him something, and, she has kids and I'm not with my kids. So I'm not kid
attuned. Yeah.
Right. And so she would go, hold on. I think I have a better way of saying that. Because Tina would go, I don't get it, Gigi. So I go for it, Lena, because she has 2 kids, And so it's ego should be checked at the door. And that's the only thing I think that spoils movies, to be honest. Egos in the making of them.
One other thing I think is quite interesting about it, I always think the tone is such an interesting place to see how filmmakers approach it on movies that are a serious drama on one hand, but also have comedic elements to them. I think obviously a lot of Sam's line readings are funny. I think that scene with Dean and Lena, where he's making the quips about how her skirt is too short for her to be going out. It's very funny stuff. And I'm curious how you approach that balance of the comic and the tragic here.
Oh my God. I'd like to tell you that I'm like this big hot shot and I thought about this and this and that. And I'm just going to say, I have a gift that is open. Does that make sense? Like, I don't get in the way. And, it may be there on the page, but I let the actor, I really, really revere actors. I respect them beyond. They are everything to me. I learn from them and I let the actor. Now, I may goose it a little bit this way or that way, right? But it's trusting in your actor and your team. I really feel we all trusted each other. And I really feel like, I don't think this happened much, maybe once, Lena would tell me a little bit, I get a little sentimental. She's British, and I think our combination worked, but no, it's like, the way Lena, looked at him and said, thank you, Tom Ford. I mean, she was just amazing. Like, you have to have these actors. I am nothing without an actor. I mean, it just gelled. And I have to say, like, Byron, my DP, was so specific on, at one point I was like, don't you think we've done enough shot lists? Because in the moment, I change a lot. But he said, no. We have to do the shot list. I understand you're going to change on me. You know what I mean? So it's doing the bricklaying, so then you have that freedom. And it just, it was there on the page, and the actor, it's the actors, it's the actors.
I gather we're coming close to the end of our time, but I did have one sort of bigger picture question, which is that I think it's interesting to see a female-led, female-starring action film like this. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts on how the industry, I guess, can shift to highlight work like this more. It feels like things have become very monolithic, and I don't mean to throw shade at Marvel movies or whatever else, but it seems like there's a very particular sort of thing that the industry is entirely geared on these days. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts on how, little incremental beats can be made to improve things.
Well, I hope this film makes money. That would help all the people that have believed in me and worked so hard. And, Screen Media has been amazing. And, I think if little films like this get support and get word of mouth, and, because we don't have the, budget of the Marvel to get it out there, like we're getting a theater release. How great is that?
Yep.
And so I think if it makes money, that will penetrate the bigger studios to want to go and make more of these. Like I have another movie that's an action movie that's freaking kick-ass too that I want to do. I'm doing another movie first for Cassie and Always, and then I want to do this other movie I wrote that is that, and it brings, it's like it's like a love story set in Deliverance. It's very cool. Yeah, I know, it's very cool. So I'm really excited about that. So we have to keep making them, and if some big fancy director wants to direct it, I'd be willing to give it to her. Like there's so many great women directors out there now.
Absolutely. It makes everything you're saying makes a lot of sense. And I gather we're coming to the end of our time, but I really enjoyed this conversation. I really appreciate it.
I love your kids. Say hi to your kids.
Of course, I will do. But I really appreciate it. I wish you the absolute best with this release. And I look forward to what you have in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for your time.